FBI leadership has launched an investigation into the origins of the agency and their plan to infiltrate President Trump's first campaign by using 2 undercover agents in a so-called honeypot operation.
Incredible.
Todd Pyro joins us with details. Todd.
This is big. Under the leadership of new FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino, the Bureau has reportedly launched an investigation into the agency's plan to infiltrate President Trump's first campaign using 2 female undercover agents. The Washington Times reporting that the program was launched in 2015 by then FBI Director James Comey. The honeypot scheme was actually kept off the books, and according to a whistleblower, Comey's investigation was separate from Crossfire Hurricane. You, of course, know that as the FBI's operation that looked into allegations Trump's campaign colluded with Russia. A whistleblower disclosure says, quote, the case had no predicated foundation, so Comey personally directed the investigation without creating an official case file in Sentinel or any other FBI system. The FBI has multiple methods of protecting highly sensitive investigations, so Comey did not have a legitimate reason not to officially create an official investigation file or have a file number. FBI leaders are reportedly looking for those once undercover agents who are said to have infiltrated the Trump campaign at high levels.
Comey's wig, uncovering something big. Like Big Mike, a honeypot, no better operation, cross-dresser. Like Big Mike, they went off the books, now their balls are cooked. Like Big Mike, 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 Mike. Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Everything will be okay. Guess what? It's hump day. Get it on.
Ooh, baby. Welcome to the golden era. We are very excited for today because today some of the promises that have been made to us for years live on this program by Kash Patel come true. We went back into the archives, ladies and gentlemen, and found Kash Patel saying that James Comey deserves to be fully investigated for his illegal spying on Donald Trump. He said it live, and he said it on this program. And today, James Comey is under federal investigation for spying on Donald Trump. We are going to cover all of it, ladies and gentlemen, this glorious day, Wednesday, February 26, 2025. FBI launches investigation into James Comey. What did James Comey do exactly? We're going to break down all of the dirty details. Ooh, baby. The rats have fled the ship. Everyone is turning now on James Comey. And when you lay out all of his actions and you look at what James Comey has done over the last 4 years, you start to realize exactly how guilty this rat bastard truly is. We're going to cover all of it. Trump has his first cabinet meeting. We'll cover that live on the program here. It's going to be a wild one. Elon Musk has showed up inside of a, like wearing his t-shirt and his stunner shades and his black gothic MAGA hat. It's going to be wild. And ladies and gentlemen, Byron Donalds, who just announced that he will be running for the governor of Florida, will be live on the program, along with Senator Rick Scott, also of Florida, and General Michael Flynn, who was a victim of James Comey and his spying on President Trump. He'll be live on the show today. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. You know, ladies and gentlemen, there are ups and downs in this country. There are a lot of crazy market forces, and as the world changes before our very eyes, it's important to remember that when you are investing, you should invest in things that withstand the test of time. We went back into the archives for a lot of the show today to show you exactly how many promises are being kept. But here's something that I've been talking to you about for years, which is gold. Over the course of the last 25 years, gold has had a 1,000% return. So since the dot-com bubble, Gold has had a 1,000% return. Ladies and gentlemen, invest with my friends at Advantage Gold. Advantage Gold can help you right now by locking in the best performing asset throughout these incredible times. And I'm just telling you to diversify. That's all. Just diversify and make sure that you are getting ahead of the curve, having precious metals in your asset class. If you're looking to own physical gold, especially inside of your retirement account, text Benny to 85545 right now. And Advantage Gold will send you a 100% free, zero obligation investment guide. Plus, you could qualify for $1,000 in free silver. One more time, text Benny, B-E-N-N-Y, to 85545. Join America's new generation of smart investors. Text Benny to 85545 for Advantage Gold to help you. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial and tax professional. All right, ladies and gentlemen, an incredible moment here that I want to cover. And more importantly, I want to establish that we were right. And we've been right for a very long time, ladies and gentlemen. This program, and I want to pop up this tweet. It's from 2009. 2019, correction. There wasn't a Twitter in 2009, actually. It's amazing the timelines we live in. But here we go. From 2019. Your boy, okay? Rolling in over the top, saying James Comey. And again, this is from 6 years ago. 6 years ago. This is how right we've been on this issue. James Comey testified before the Senate that he wasn't aware of any surveillance of the Trump campaign. Watch James Comey lie under oath. He stole documents. He leaked classified information. He lied to the FISA court. He gave Hillary Clinton a get-out-of-jail-free card. This effing bastard deserves jail. Check the date. Sometimes it's nice just to have these catalogs to prove that we are the ones who've been right all along. It's nice to just have a little library that you can go back into and say, you know what? We've been telling the truth about this guy for a very long. We never thought that James Comey was an upstanding law enforcement official who was just upholding the integrity of the FBI. We've always called this rat bastard out from the get. And ladies and gentlemen, here's the timestamp, 6 years ago. Now let's fast forward. Do we have this clip? Do we have this clip loaded? This one? Yeah. Do we have this? Alex, let me know. Alex, let me know. Okay. So fast forward to today. Let's fast forward to today. Because we are right now living through just such an incredible timeline. Kash Patel, yesterday, via a leak to the Washington Times, or a conversation with the Washington Times, has announced that they are now looking into James Comey's off-the-books honeypot operation targeting the 2016 Trump campaign. Now, before we read this, I want to play you this clip of James Comey lying to the Senate. Here we go. James Comey, I didn't know anything about spying on Donald Trump. Go.
Do you stand by your House testimony on March 20th that there was no surveillance of the Trump campaign that you're aware of?
Correct.
You would know about it if there were, is that correct?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Interesting. Let's go ahead and check the receipts here. FBI leadership is starting an investigation into the origins of the agency's plan a decade ago to infiltrate the campaign of presidential candidate Donald Trump, using 2 female undercover honeypot agents. The off-the-books investigation, launched in 2015 by Director Comey, was revealed by an agency whistleblower in a protected disclosure to the House Judiciary Committee last year, and first reported on exclusively by the Washington Times in October. In the intelligence community, a honeypot commonly refers to an undercover operative, usually a woman, who feigns sexual or romantic interest to obtain information from a target. Get a load of this. Here's how the app worked. The whistleblower said 2 female FBI undercover employees infiltrated Mr. Trump's 2016 campaign at a high level and were directed to act as honeypots while traveling with Mr. Trump and his campaign staff. The Times has learned that the Bureau, now led by Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino, is looking into those undercover employees under Mr. Comey's direction. Now, why haven't we heard much about this? Oh, get a load of this. The FBI has declined to comment. According to the whistleblower disclosure, the Times reviewed the investigation differed from cross-dresser hurricane a later FBI counterintelligence operation that looked into never-proved allegations of Russia collusion. So this is separate from Russia collusion. They're going to get him on Russia collusion. The basis of the Durham report is Kash Patel's work. I think this is very important to just take like a little bit of we just have to establish a couple of things from a historical record here. Here is the Durham report, ladies and gentlemen. The person who established the foundation, the fact pattern in the Durham report is none other than Kash Patel. It's right there in the chat, Klein. This is the establishing fact pattern of the Durham report. The plan is that Hillary Clinton created a false story linking Donald Trump to Russia. Hillary Clinton paid for that research, used campaign dollars to do it. It was illegally done because she didn't say in her FEC reports like what the money was going towards, because there's no byline. There's no legal way to say I'm paying a dirty British spy to go to Russian spies to create a fake Oppo file on my opponent. There's no line item for that when it comes to federal election law. So she lied about it. People went to jail for this. Not enough. Only one person actually went to jail for this. It's all going to change. Here's the most important part here, is that John Brennan, Barack Obama, and James Comey knew about this along with Joe Biden. But Joe Biden's in like hospice. Where the hell is Joe Biden? Has anybody seen Joe Biden? There's one video of Joe Biden since leaving office. He has this massive bruise on his face. Like, he looks totally, total lack of senility. It's creepy, man. Something horrible has happened to Joe Biden. Anyway, the person who wrote the book on all of this was none other than Kash Patel. The guy who laid the total foundations of the Durham report was Kash Patel. So trust me when I say that the FBI is going to look into Russiagate, but that ain't this. It's important to separate this out, okay? So let's continue to read on what James Comey was actually doing here. According to whistleblower disclosures, this was a separate investigation. The whistleblower said that this was an early, off-the-books criminal investigation to target Trump and his staff by James Comey. Mr. Trump launched his presidential campaign in June 16th of 2015, a year before the FBI opened Crossfire Hurricane. The whistleblower agents personally knew that Mr. Comey ordered an FBI investigation into Trump, and that Mr. Comey personally directed it, according to the disclosure. This is secret police stuff. This is James Comey saying, I am going to spy, personally, use my powers to spy and create an espionage racket inside of the presidential campaign of the leading presidential party because I view them as a threat to my power. This man is going to prison, I'm telling you. Okay, here we go. Comey personally directed it. The investigation did not appear to target specific crime, but was more of what agents would describe as a fishing expedition to find anything incriminating about Donald Trump. The whistleblower with the undercover operations was obscured from the Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz, that's another crime, who investigated misconduct in the Bureau's probe of the Trump campaign. The case had no predicated foundation, so Comey personally directed the investigation without creating any official case file in Sentinel, which is the FBI's logbook of all of its cases, or any other FBI system, according to the whistleblower disclosure. The FBI has multiple methods of protecting highly sensitive investigations, so Comey did not have a legitimate reason to officially create an investigation file or have a file number. So all of this was patently illegal, based on the FBI's own rules. The disclosure then said that the secret investigation may have indicated institutional bias at the FBI against Mr. Trump. It does not appear that any information about the investigation was turned over to Trump's criminal defense counsels, another crime. The investigation was eventually closed because a major newspaper obtained a photograph of one of the undercovers and was about to publish it. But the FBI press office said that the outlet told the outlet that the photograph was an FBI informant who would be killed, of course, if the photograph was released. Sources and methods. You can't publish anything for sources and methods, right? In fact, It was a photograph of the FBI undercover employee, the honeypot. The FBI whistleblower employee noted that the disclosure, one of the undercovers agreed to be transferred to the CIA, so she would not be available as a potential witness. So they hid the agents, the honeypot agents. So James Comey hates Donald Trump so much and views him as such a threat to his power that he puts spies, he puts chicks who are actually working for him in an off-the-books spying operation inside of Trump's team. These chicks then reported directly to James Comey in a fishing expedition to try and torpedo President Trump, to find anything. There was no crime. James Comey then lied, broke every rule in the FBI, didn't put any of this down in documentation. Then when James Comey was held over in the first Trump administration, before Donald Trump got wise to this 6 months in and then fired his ass, but James Comey was held over, James Comey then used Hillary Clinton's Russiagate documents as a predicate to launch investigations called Crossfire Hurricane to spy on Trump even more, knowing that all of this was false, already having a spying apparatus inside of the operation. When his operation was made, when the agents who were spies got made, then James Comey fitted them off to the CIA. So he parks them at the CIA, and then what else happens? The other undercover employee was rewarded for her activities and her loyalty to James Comey through promotion at the Bureau, and is now a high-level FBI executive in the major field office. Oh boy, would love to learn who these individuals are. The whistleblower employee observed one or more employees in the FBI being directed to never discuss this operation with anybody ever again, including other people involved in the 2016 Trump campaign infiltration operation. An FBI employee making this disclosure took this admonishment as a direct threat from James Comey. Oh, baby. It makes so much sense now. It makes so much sense. James Comey has been in panic for the last, well, he's been fired, right, for approximately 7 years. James Comey has spent those 7 years endorsing Joe Biden. Do we have a goofy photo of James Comey in the Biden shirt? Please grab it. There it is. Yeah. Endorsing Joe Biden. Embarrassingly, like, wearing Democrat swag. Going to door knock for Democrats. And of course, it's very interesting because the patina of the FBI, so not only is it a Joe Biden shirt, it's a rainbow Joe Biden shirt. Just perfect for James Comey. The patina of what the left says about the FBI and federal agencies is that, of course, they're not to be sullied by politics. And that you're not supposed to use your office or your retired office to go and to promote one side or the other. You're supposed to, like, kind of disappear into the morass and just go take your giant lobbying checks, right, and shut up. Because it hurts the agency. For some reason, James Comey has decided to go balls to the wall to try and facilitate forever power for Democrats. Now, this, on its face, is something that is sort of an indication of guilt. Like, why would you work so hard to elect Democrats? James Comey was door knocking, man. There are photos of James Comey. This one I thought was particularly damning. James Comey sitting here at a Democrat office, door knocking, saying, like, how can I possibly elect, how can I make sure that like, nobody ever finds out what I did here? Here he is door knocking. It's crazy. What a world. Don't you have other things to do? James Comey also going on TV regularly in panic, explaining what's going to happen under a Donald Trump presidency. And now you begin to understand, right? This is obviously guilty behavior. He's obviously guilty of something. And his crimes are like sitting right there, ready to be found out by the right FBI agent and deputy director. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino taking the chair. This is the literal sum of all fears for James Comey. Here we go.
Are you concerned that it may get a test unlike any other if Donald Trump is reelected? I mean, when you think about a second Trump administration, what do you think the implications would be for the FBI?
Oh, serious, for the Justice Department and the FBI, because Trump is coming for those institutions. He knows their power, and I think he has regrets that he didn't work hard enough to corrupt them last time. So he's coming for them, and that's a danger for all Americans. He's going to put people in positions in those organizations. He didn't have all-stars the last time. He'll have the bottom of the barrel this time, but people who will want to do his will, and that should worry every American. This election matters. Because of a reason like that, people have to participate. You cannot sit on the sideline. I don't care how you feel about Joe Biden, you must vote for him because the consequences on the other side are too severe.
Bro was straight up telling us from the get that he was going to prison if Donald Trump gets back in the chair, he's going to prison. They haven't even started yet. They haven't even begun to get to work on James Comey. Oh, man, he's cooked. These are the people who are going to be investigating James Comey. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, who, Dan Bongino, as we have discussed, knows where the bodies are literally buried inside of these agencies. Kash Patel talking openly about what needs to happen to James Comey, what kind of a rat this man is. Let's listen to the current, active, Senate-confirmed director of the FBI who has opened this investigation. Little birdies tell me, one of many that are about to be opened into James Comey. And how many laws has James Comey broken here? Somebody who I spoke with a lot of knowledge on this before the show. We will be talking to General Flynn, who was a victim of James Comey's spying later in this program, but somebody who I spoke with before we went live today with a lot of knowledge about Trump's first campaign and somebody who's worked in federal law enforcement told me this. And in this first operation, there are dozens, this is an exact quote, dozens of federal laws being broken. Dozens of federal laws being broken that can be proved. It's not like, I'm Jack Smith and I'm going to write a mean, nasty report, right? Jack Smith got his yesterday. It's like, these are legitimate federal crimes. Withholding information from an inspector general. This is stuff that's going to land James Comey, if properly litigated, and we have every indication that this stuff is going to land him in prison for the right. Like, James Comey's going to jail. It's not just funny headline, and it's not just like a funny cover image of James Comey in prison. Can we get our cover image for today's show up? It's not just that, and I friggin' love this. We love our cover. We love making sure that we sort of like meme what we want to have happen into existence. So we regularly do shows with cover images like this. This is the cover image for today's show. Get my popcorn. Wait. So excited. No, this is actually going to happen. We mean it this time. We meant it all the times. But again, we've been sounding off on this son of a bitch for the better part of the last 10 years. We've been calling this guy out, and we've done so many shows having Kash on, talking about James Comey, and this now, ladies and gentlemen, has become a reality. Dozens of federal crimes that are provable in this singular instance. They haven't even begun to carve up this beached whale. They haven't even begun to go. The meat on the bone here is so enormous. Man, and we are going to eat no crumbs. Here's Kash Patel.
But when do you believe the FBI figured out that all of this was just one political campaign trying to take down another?
I think they knew right away. In the documents that we put out in the Nunes investigation, the Nunes memo, and the HPSI report on Russian active measures show that the FBI knew right away, because their FISA abuse process, now that declassification process is complete, and your viewers can read it, that the FBI knew the information was fraudulent. They knew the credibility problems with Christopher Steele, and they knew the DNC through Fusion GPS and Perkins Coie were piping in tens of millions of dollars into the machine so that they could get up a FISA warrant on President Trump. So I think they knew right away, which is why I think the individuals at the head of the FBI need to be held accountable. Look out for indictments against the folks like Fusion GPS and Glenn Simpson for helping perpetuate this fraud. And look out for individuals like Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. I believe they're already helping John Durham. They're cooperating with him to get the bigger fish like the Andy McCabe, who is the biggest fraudster next to James Comey. I think you're going to see these indictments start coming out on the individuals at the top. It's just going to take a few more months, but I remind your viewers, it takes a little bit of time to work these matters.
It takes a little bit of time. Well, that interview is 4 years old. So it does take a little bit of time. 3.5 years old. It does take a little bit of time. And we did get the Durham report, but we got no teeth. Nobody really went to prison. One FBI agent went to prison for falsifying a FISA. It should have been dozens of hundreds of people should go to jail for this. Now, we've checked in on the statute of limitations on these kind of things. And the reality for people like James Comey is that the statute of limitations for engaging in this style of activity when you're the FBI director and you're breaking these laws as the FBI director is internal. They will be able to charge this. The FBI will be able to hold its own agents into account. You can't lie to the inspector general. They're coming for him, baby. And the Durham report was written by Kash Patel. It's just a reminder. The guy who wrote the Durham report, who laid down the fact pattern and who built the building itself, Kash Patel is now the director of the FBI. The son of a bitch lied, man. He lied so much, so vociferously, with total impunity. James Comey admitting that he was ordered to downplay Hillary Clinton's criminal investigation. I mean, it's crazy what these people got away with. If anything, and we want jail, but if anything, it would be really nice to just see these guys these rats just like dragged back out of the sewer. To just see an FBI disclosure of the criminality of this group of it'd just be nice to start getting like the actual truth about what happened to President Trump out. And even that alone, like forget the frog marches, which of course that needs to happen next. But just the destruction of their personal brands, the destruction of their names, the fighting of lawsuits that's going to cost millions and millions of dollars for these guys to defend, and they're no longer on the public dole, so they can't use federal funds to fight the lawsuits. Gosh, it's going to be absolutely biblical. They're just getting started. These are some of the first actions taken by Kash Patel at the FBI. It is the most viral thing on the internet right now. Patel and FBI launched an investigation. James Comey spying on the president's campaign. Justice is coming. The honeypots were sent in. They apparently are still around. They're apparently housed at the CIA and the FBI. Well, then drag them in. We know who they are. Let's drag them in. Accountability is coming. Accountability is coming. This is huge. The hammer of justice, ladies and gentlemen. Dan Bongino are now looking into who those employees are, and it's great. They're still around. It's going to be a pretty easy testimony there, right? How much evidence exists still within the FBI? I mean, I guess there are whistleblowers. What we know now is that there are whistleblowers that are still actively working within the FBI who are ratting out now James Comey. James Comey's illegal surveillance of the 2016 campaign. It's almost more damning than Russiagate because the Russiagate operation has been so well worn, right, from the left and from the right. I think a lot of people are almost sick of hearing about it. I'm not, but like a lot of people are like, okay, can we get on with it? Right? This is new. These are new revelations and new horrors. And this is, by the way, Erica Knight's incredible. She's somebody who's done enormous amounts of work with Kash Patel by his side and has been like his publicist and somebody who's been efforting the Kash Patel operation. And it's not possible to get Kash in the chair without an Erica Knight by his side. Freaking love we've loved working with Erica. She's amazing. The FBI didn't just spy on Trump. They ran an off-the-books honeypot operation against him before Crossfire Hurricane even started. This isn't just corruption. It is a full-blown deep state coup. This is, I think, really fertile ground to plow because it's going to be brand new for the American people. They haven't heard of this before. It's going to be brand new. This is huge. Accountability is coming. It's happening. This is the most viral story in the country right now. I hope Comey saved up whatever stupid money he made from his book or whatever. That dude's going to be spending a fortune in legal defenses against this. And one final spike of the football. Boom, we were right, baby. Boom, we were right. We called it from a mile away 6 years ago. Who else did that? Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino has spent hours, hundreds of hours, I think you could say, on his program, devoting his program to just ripping the guts out of James Comey and John Brennan and Barack Obama and Joe Biden and everybody, and Loretta Lynch and everybody who was in that little meeting, that little nasty meeting. General Flynn's going to be on the program live today. That little nasty meeting at the White House where they all discussed Hillary Clinton doing this, that Hillary Clinton was going to launch a fake operation as a predicate to spy on Trump, and they all were part of it. And every one of them deserves to burn over this. Every single one of them. It's the nastiest operation in American politics. It's a literal coup launched against our president. And so I'm excited to relitigate it. We know it like the back of our hand. And so does Dan. Dan Bongino knows where all the bodies are buried, and he's exactly the kind of federal agent who knows how to exhume those bodies and make a proper crime scene. Here is Bongino talking about James Comey.
We got to get rid of people like this. Jim Comey, who signed on, obviously, with the woke agenda because he's weak. This is one of the most disgusting human beings on planet Earth. A man who has done more damage to the United States and its institutions than I'd argue anyone else alive right now. There are people who've done as much, John Brennan, but you can't possibly do more. This man decimated the credibility of the FBI. He is the worst FBI director in the history of the FBI. And the problem with Jim Comey is he is a straight up sociopath. He is a man who has zero remorse for what he did. There is a damning report that just came out, the Durham report, suggesting they never had any evidence to start this case with at all. And Jim Comey, the FBI director, who personally oversaw the case against Trump to spy on him and his presidency, you'd think this guy would sliver into the cave he came from, to never be seen from again, and his family would tell people he died in a car accident so they don't have to acknowledge they know him. Not this guy. This a-hole loser wrote another book and is out doing the media tour. So on the media tour, he was asked, hey, listen, now that the Durham report came out, anything embarrassing here? Are you going to apologize to America? Nope, not at all. This is a sociopath in action. Watch this loser.
As for the Durham report, 300 pages, 4 years investigating the investigators. One of the things that did come out of it was that procedures, regular FBI procedures, were ignored, that steps were missed along the way in this investigation. In fact, Director Wray said when the report came out, yeah, we acknowledged that a couple of years ago, and we've changed all that. Those changes are already in place. Do you acknowledge perhaps that some mistakes were made along the way?
Oh, definitely. And they were found 4 years ago by the Inspector General. So there's nothing new in this new document.
What were some of those mistakes from your point of view?
Oh, that the FBI didn't communicate clearly the status of certain sources. They didn't double check certain information before putting it in a court application for a foreign intelligence wiretap, and a bunch of others.
And so do you believe now, as some of these politicians call for defunding of the FBI, that has been corrected and that now the procedures are in place to avoid those kind of mistakes in the future?
I think so. But in complex investigations, there's always going to be mistakes. It doesn't mean the FBI is incompetent, honest, and independent.
So, Director, with some distance now from your time there with that investigation and everything that came into that 2016 election, are there things that you wish you had done differently?
Oh, plenty. I mean, plenty of small things. In the main, I think the FBI did it in the right way during a very difficult time in 2016.
Wait, is this guy smoking the glass? Is this guy on crack? Is he smoking crack?
Is he smoking crack? I mean, an FBI investigation could determine that, actually. Maybe you could have James Comey under oath and you can ask him that, Dan Bongino. That's something that can actually happen right now. James Comey, as many of you will probably recall, the highest of sins against our nation was when James Comey took over the Hillary Clinton investigation to fully exonerate Hillary Clinton. This, ladies and gentlemen, was probably the single greatest deep state coup action. Rigging of election action. I mean, the Hunter Biden 51 spies who lie, that has nothing. That's nothing. Nothing compared to the. Grab me the clip. I want the clip. I want the clip of James Comey saying Hillary Clinton, exonerating Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton guilty as sin for destroying classified information that she didn't have a right to, holding on unsecured servers, giving our information to our enemies. We spent the entire day yesterday talking about the criminality and the penalties associated with handing over America's classified secrets to our enemies. Anna Paulina Luna on the show saying, you get the death penalty. If you're in the military, you get the death penalty for this. And then here's Hillary Clinton doing that. And of course, the whole reason that she was going to store all the same thing with Biden, the whole reason for them to hoard all these little classified documents is so they can sell them, so they can use them. They hoard all these documents so they can get billions of dollars from the Chinese and the Saudis and the Ukrainians. And they use the documents as leverage. They sell out America's secrets, just like the Clintons did with our uranium to the Russians. They sold out all of our uraniums. Oh, Russia's a nuclear power. Where'd they get the uranium? Clinton. And they all get a cut. And that's what this is all about. And that's how the operation worked. And so the gig was up for Hillary Clinton. There was a full investigation into this. They found she was freaking guilty. Even James Comey says that Hillary Clinton is guilty and she did these things and they are illegal. And then James Comey goes, and now she's free to go. So a remarkable moment in American history. It's probably the black pill moment for most people. It was for me. And like recognizing how your federal government operates. Here we go. The final nail in the coffin. James Comey taking the power that doesn't exist at the FBI, grabbing an investigation that was going from the DOJ, Loretta Lynch meets Bill Clinton on the tarmac, and then waving a magic wand over Hillary Clinton and absolving her of all of her crimes. This was the power of the deep state in action. This is what we have destroyed. Go.
Although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. Prosecutors necessarily weigh a number of factors before deciding whether to bring charges. There are obvious considerations like the strength of the evidence, especially regarding intent. Responsible decisions also consider the context of a person's actions and how similar situations have been handled in the past. In looking back at our investigations into the mishandling or removal of classified information, we cannot find a case that would support bringing criminal charges on these facts.
She literally took hammers and bleach bit and destroyed her servers that had all of the evidence on them that was under subpoena by Jason Chaffetz in the House. And here's James Comey, total and complete scum of the earth, jack wagon, up there saying, oh yeah, she did all these things. Oh yeah, everything she did all the criminal things. Yes. And now we let her go for free. The end. That's the end of it. Now it's done. He did this right on the eve of the 2016 election. We all know how that turned out. And they effed around. And now they're finding out. Breaking news here, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. At the breaking news literally seconds ago, the Trump administration directs all federal agencies to prepare for massive downsizing by March 13th. Get freaking ready. Now, again, there is a cabinet meeting that is going to go on in the White House. Right now, we just have the shot of the White House up. There's no cabinet meeting happening currently live right now. But it will be going on during this show, and we intend on covering it. So it's going to be a little interesting live dance here during the stream. But let's rock and roll. Heads of executive agencies from Russell Vought, Office of Management and Budget. Federal government is costly, ineffective, and deeply in debt. At the same time, it's not producing results for the American public. Instead, tax dollars are being siphoned off to fund unproductive and unnecessary programs that benefit radical interest groups while hurting hard-working American citizens. The American people registered their verdict with bloated, corrupt federal bureaucracy on November 5th, 2024, voting for Donald Trump sweeping reform of federal government. On February 11th, 2025, President Trump's executive order implementing the President's Department of Government Efficiency, Work, and Optimization critical information to the federal bureaucracy. It directed agencies to eliminate waste, bloat, and insulary in order to empower American families, workers, and the system of government itself. President Trump required that agency heads promptly undertake preparations to initiate large-scale reductions in their workforces. President Trump also directed no later than March 13th, agencies develop an agency reorganization plan. The U.S. Office of Management and Budget and U.S. Office of Personnel Management now submit guidance on these reorganization plans, along with instructions for such plans to be submitted. Here we go. And then these are the operations for increased productivity, reduce of real property footprint, so selling federal properties, reduce budget top line, significant reduction in the number of full-time positions, eliminating positions that are no longer required. Pursuing the president's direction, agencies should focus on maximum elimination of functions that are not statutory mandated while driving the highest quality, most efficient delivery of their statutory requirement functions. Ooh, baby. Oh, yeah. The actual gutting of the deep state is happening in real time. Let's rid ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, of the chaos. I'm sorry, I'm just looking over here. It looks like we have the cabinet meeting starting right now. We have audio here. Is everybody seated? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here, and we put together a great cabinet. We've had tremendous success. We've been given a lot of credit for having a very successful first month, and we want to make that many months and years, actually. But we're going to have many good months. And
Elon Musk, who, of course, is not a cabinet member, is also there. Whoa. He leads the president's newly created...
No. Next. Other feed. Let's go. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Clean feed.
Be a very big agreement. And I want to thank Howard and Scott for the job you guys did putting it together. You really did an amazing job. And that would be rare earth and other things. And, we're in for probably $350 billion. Europe is in for...
We apologize for the low audio. We're switching it right now. Here we go.
We're in for probably $350 billion. Europe is in for $100 billion. And that's a big difference. So we're in for probably 3 times as much, and yet it's very important to everybody, but Europe's very close. We have a big ocean separating us, so it's very important for Europe, and they hopefully will step up and do maybe more than they're doing, and maybe a lot more. The previous administration put us in a very bad position, but we've been able to make a deal where we're going to get our money back, and we're going to get a lot of money in the future. And I think that's appropriate because we have taxpayers that shouldn't be footing the bill, and they shouldn't be footing the bill at more than the Europeans are paying. So it's all been worked out. We're happy about it. And I think that very importantly, we're going to be able to make a deal. Most importantly, by far, we're going to make a deal with Russia and Ukraine to stop killing people. They'll stop killing young Russian soldiers and young Ukrainian soldiers and other people in addition in the towns and cities. And we will consider that a very important thing and a big accomplishment because it was going nowhere until this administration came in. They hadn't spoken to President Putin in 2 years. And, so we'll keep you advised. Before we begin the cabinet, I'd like to have Scott and a couple of people say a few things, but most importantly, where are you? This is a gentleman who's going places, the head of HUD, and he's going to say cabinet. I'd like to have Scott and a couple of people say a few things, but most importantly, where are you? This is a gentleman who's going places, the head of HUD, and he's going to say, you all know him, and you're going to say grace, and then we'll have our meeting, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this awesome privilege, Father, to be in your presence. God, thank you that you've allowed us to see this day. The Bible says that your mercies are new every morning. And Father God, we give you the glory and the honor. Thank you, God, for President Trump, Father, for appointing us. Father God, thank you for anointing us to do this job. Father, we pray you will give the president, the vice president wisdom, Father God, as they lead. Father, I pray for all of my colleagues that are here around the table and in this room. Lord God, we pray that we would lead with a righteous clarity. Father God, that as we serve the people of this country in every prospective agency, every job that we have, Father, we would humble ourselves before you and we would lead in the manner that you've called us to lead and to serve. Father, the Bible says that blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. Well, Father, we today honor you and in your rightful place, Father, thank you for giving us this opportunity to restore faith in this country and be a blessing to the people of America. And Lord God, today in our meeting, we pray that you will be glorified in our conversation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Scott, that was a very good job you did. You've done that before, haven't you? So Scott Turner's a terrific young guy. He's heading up HUD, and he's going to make us all very proud, right?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Great job. In just over 1 month, illegal border crossings have plummeted by numbers that nobody's actually ever seen before. It's much more than 100%. And we've unleashed American energy at levels that will soon be reported. But we think we're going to get it going very quickly. We have incredible people on the energy front. I think we have really great people on every front. I'll let you know if they're not good, but I think they really are. And we're fighting every day to get the prices down. The inflation is stopping slowly, but part of the reason it's stopping is because of high interest rates and other problems that we inherited. But we have to get the prices down, not the inflation down, the prices of eggs and various other things. Eggs are a disaster. The Secretary of Agriculture is going to be showing you a chart that's actually mind-boggling what's happened, how low they were with us and how high they are now. But I think we can do something about it, Madam Secretary, and I think you're going to do a fantastic job in that position. One of the most important initiatives is DOGE, and we have cut billions and billions and billions of dollars. We're looking to get it maybe to $1 trillion. If we can do that, we're going to start getting to be at a point where we can think in terms of balancing budgets, believe it or not, something you haven't heard in many, many years, decades actually. And it's a big, whether it's this year or next year, I think we'll be very close to balancing budgets. And the DOGE is very important. And Elon is here to give you a summary of what's happening, some of the things they found, some of the horrible things they found, some of the theft and fraud, and we call it waste and abuse, but a lot of fraud and probably some fraud that we're not going to be able to prove is fraud. But when you hear the names and the places where this money's going, it's a disgrace. But we've requested that a lot of people, we want to make sure that the people are working. So letters were sent out, and I think everyone at this table is very much behind it. And if they aren't, I'd want them to speak up, but they're very much behind it. Letters were sent out to people just to find out if the people exist. Do they work? Who do they work for? Where are they? Where have they been working? Have they been working for other companies or other entities at all, or being paid by the government? So they have two jobs, but they're supposed to have one. And the letter asks some simple questions like, what have you done lately? And if they can answer that, because I can tell you everything I've done for the last long period of time, a lot more than a week. And in many cases, we haven't gotten responses. Usually that means that maybe that person doesn't exist or that person doesn't want to say they're working for another company while being paid by the United States government. So there's a lot of interesting things. It's very unique, but we have a very unique situation because we have a lot of people that were scamming our country. We have a lot of dishonest people. We have a lot of people that took advantage of a lot of different situations, and we're not going to let that happen. So I'm going to ask if it's possible to have Elon get up first and talk about Doge, because it seems to be of great interest to everyone. I will say that there is a large group of people in this country that have such admiration for what we're doing. I got elected with a tremendous vote, winning every swing state, winning the popular vote, winning the counties by thousands of counties. I think it was 2,800 to 500, 2,800 counties to 500 counties. Think of that. And so we have a mandate to do this. And this is part of the reason I got elected. I got elected based on taxes and based on many things, the border, but also based on balancing budgets and getting our country back into shape. And this is a big part of it. So Elon, if you could get up and explain where you are, how you're doing, and how much we're cutting. And it's an honor to have you. He's been a tremendously successful guy. He's really working so hard, and he's got businesses to run. And in many ways, they say, how do you do this? And, you know, he's sacrificing a lot and getting a lot of praise, I'll tell you, but he's also getting hit. And we would expect that. And that's the way it works. So I'd like to have Elon Musk please say a few words.
Okay,
Thank you, Elon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually just call myself a humble tech support here because this is actually, as crazy as it sounds, that is almost a literal description of the work that the Doge team is doing, is helping fix the government computer systems. Many of these systems are extremely old. They don't communicate. There are a lot of mistakes in the systems. The software doesn't work. So we are actually tech support. It's ironic, but it's true. The overall goal here with the Doge team is to help address the enormous deficit. We simply cannot sustain as a country $2 trillion deficits. The interest rates, just the interest on the national debt now exceeds the Defense Department spending. We spend a lot on the Defense Department, but we're spending like over $1 trillion on interest. If this continues, the country will become de facto bankrupt. It's not an optional thing; it is an essential thing. That's the reason I'm here, and taking a lot of flack and getting a lot of death threats. By the way, I'm gonna like stack them up, you know. But if we don't do this, America will go bankrupt. That's why it has to be done. I'm confident at this point. Knock on wood, you know, knock on my wooden head. Got a lot of wood up there, that we can actually find $1 trillion in savings. That would be a roughly 15% of the $7 trillion budget. And obviously that can only be done with the support of everyone in this room. And I'd like to thank everyone for your support. Thank you very much. This can only be done with your support. So it's really, Doge is a support function for the president and for the agencies and departments to help achieve those savings and to effectively find 15% in reduction in fraud and waste. And we bring the receipts. So people say like, well, is this real? Just go to doge.gov. We line item by line item, we specify each item. So, and I should say, we will make mistakes. We won't be perfect, but when we make a mistake, we'll fix it very quickly. So for example, with USAID, one of the things we accidentally canceled very briefly was Ebola prevention. I think we all want Ebola prevention. So we restored the Ebola prevention immediately, and there was no interruption. But we do need to move quickly if we're to achieve a $1 trillion deficit reduction in financial year 2026. It requires saving $4 billion per day, every day, from now through the end of September. But we can do it, and we will do it. Thank you.
Would you have any questions of Elon while we're on the subject of those? Because we'll finish off with that. And if you would have any questions, please ask. You could ask me or Elon. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Musk. I just wanted to ask you that President Trump put out a Truth Social today saying that everybody in the cabinet was happy with you. I just wondered if you had heard otherwise, and if you had heard anything about members of the cabinet who weren't happy with the way things were going. And if so, what are you doing to address those any dissatisfaction?
Let the cabinet speak just for a second. Is anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, well, throw them out of here. Is anybody unhappy? They have a lot of respect for Elon and that he's doing this, and some disagree a little bit, but I will tell you, for the most part, I think everyone's not only happy, they're thrilled. So go ahead, Elon.
And President Trump has put together, I think, the best cabinet ever. Literally. So, I do not give false praise. This is an incredible group of people. I don't think that such a talented team has actually ever been assembled. I think it's literally the best cabinet that the country has ever had. And I think the company should be incredibly appreciative of the people in this room.
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. Musk. Are there about half of the government employees so far appear to have responded to your request for what they've been doing over the past week? Is there a timeline in place for next moves for people being fired, and when can the American people expect to see results from that?
Yes. Well, to be clear, I think that email perhaps was misinterpreted as a performance review, but actually it was a pulse check review. Do you have a pulse? Do you have a pulse and 2 neurons? So if you have a pulse and 2 neurons, you can reply to an email. This is, I think not a high bar, is what I'm saying. This is should be anyone could accomplish this. But what we are trying to get to the bottom of is we think there are a number of people on the government payroll who are dead, which is probably why they can't respond. And some people who are not real people, like they're literally fictional individuals that are collecting paychecks. Well, somebody's collecting paychecks on a fictional individual. So we're just literally trying to figure out, are these people real? Are they alive? And can they write an email? Which I think is a reasonable expectation for the American public would have at least that expectation of someone in the public sector.
Mr. Musk, roughly 1 million.
It's not a high bar, guys. Come on.
Roughly 1 million employees have responded so far to this email. Does that mean that the remaining 1 million or so federal employees now risk being terminated? And is it your understanding and expectation when you post a directive on X that the cabinet secretaries will follow that order? Because several agencies have instructed employees that this is voluntary or not to respond.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I guess it was like last week, the president encouraged me via Truth Social and also via phone call to be more aggressive. And I was like, okay, yes, sir, Mr. President, we will indeed do that. The president is the commander in chief. I do what the president asks. And I said, can we send out an email to everyone just saying, what did you get done last week? The president said yes, so it did that. We got a partial response. We're going to send another email. But our goal is not to be capricious or unfair. We want to give people every opportunity to send an email. And the email could simply be, what I'm working on is too sensitive or classified to describe. Like literally just, that would be sufficient. I think this is just common sense.
And what is your target number for how many workers, employees you're looking to cut total?
We wish to keep everyone who is doing a job that is essential and doing that job well. But if the job is not essential or they're not doing the job well, they obviously should not be on the public payroll.
I'd like to add, wait. I'd like to add that those million people that haven't responded, though, Elon, they are on the bubble. I wouldn't say that we're thrilled about it. They haven't responded. Now, maybe they don't exist. Maybe we're paying people that don't exist. Don't forget, we just got here. This group just got here. But those people are on the bubble, as they say. Maybe they're going to be gone. Maybe they're not around. Maybe they have other jobs. Maybe they moved and they're not where they're supposed to be. A lot of things could have happened. I wouldn't say that Biden ran a very tight administration. They spent money like nobody's ever spent money before, wasted money. The Green New Scam, all of the different things they spent money on. And you've seen that. You've seen that with some of the things that I read in speeches. I read them and people can't believe when I read them. 20 million here, 30 million here for, a little educational cost on something. Circumcision, right? Circumcision. $20 million to inform the people of such and such a country on other things and other things other than that. So, those people are, right now we're trying to find out who those people are that haven't responded. Now, there'll be some agencies, like Marco has people within state that are right now doing very classified, very confidential work, and we understand that. We've talked, and, we're being a little more surgical. And Marco's doing a lot of things himself. And some of the secretaries are, we're going to be going to them. We're going to be talking about it today. We're going to ask them to do their own Doge. In other words, they'll look in their group and I spoke with Lee Zeldin, and he thinks he's going to be cutting 65% or so of the people from environmental. And we're going to speed up the process too at the same time. You had a lot of people that weren't doing their job. They were just obstructionists, and a lot of people that didn't exist, I guess, Lee, too. You found a lot of empty spots that the people weren't there. They didn't exist. And I think education is going to be one of those. You go around Washington, you see all these buildings for the Department of Education. We want to move education back to the states where it belongs. Iowa should have education. Indiana should run their own education. You're going to see education go way up. Right now, we're ranked at the very bottom of the list, but we're at the top of the list in one thing, the cost per pupil. We spend more money per pupil than any other country in the world. And yet it's Denmark and Norway, Sweden, and I hate to say this, and we're going to get along very well with China, but it's a competitor. They're at the top of the list. They're among the top 10 usually, and they're a very big country, so we can't use that as an excuse, right? Because we're a very big country too, but we were ranked last time under Biden. We were ranked 40 out of 40. They do the 40 certain nations that they've done for a long time. It seems to be 40 for whatever reason. And we were ranked number 40. A year ago, we were 38, then we were 39. We hit 40. And so we're last in that, and we're first in cost per pupil. So I would say that's unacceptable. Lawrence, you have something?
So, Mr. President, I know you like competition, and I know it's early. So which department are you most impressed with? And then took us that's the first one. Which department have you received the most resistance from?
Well, I think both of those questions are a little bit, well, you're a pretty controversial guy. Look, it's very early. Right now, I think I'm impressed with everybody. So far, everybody. If I wasn't in the first month and some of them just got here, they just got approved 2 days ago, right? But I think I'm very impressed with everybody. So far, I'm very happy with all of the choices. I think that Elon has done incredibly with some groups, and some groups are much easier than others. It is true. State is a, very difficult situation. We're right now negotiating very successfully, I think, with Russia and with Ukraine, and we have a lot of countries involved, and we have to be a little bit careful what we do and who we're terminating. But Marco is doing that I think he's going to be very precise. It's going to be, we're cutting down government. We're cutting down the size of government. We have to. We're bloated. We're sloppy. We have a lot of people that aren't doing their job. We have a lot of people that don't exist. You look at Social Security as an example. I mean, you have so many people in Social Security where, if you believe it, they're 200 years old. And what we're doing is finding out are checks going out for that. And is somebody cashing those checks who's maybe 35 years old, okay? So there's a lot of dishonesty. There's a lot of fraud. But I think at this moment, I'll take Elon off the spot. I think that he's impressed. He said it very well, better than I can say it, that he's impressed with the people in this room, very impressed. And I am too. And it's too early to say, but I think everybody's on board. They all know we want to balance a budget. We want to have a balanced budget within a reasonably short period of time, meaning maybe by next year or the year after, but maybe even sooner than that.
Mr. President, your number one issue was the border. We just got new information that they're doxing our federal agents. They're putting their personal information out there, these activists, and they're disrupting the operation. So you got Trinidad Iger running all.
Well, we have activists, that's true. And a lot of those,
What are we going to do about the activists?
yeah, a lot of those activists are acting illegally. And we'll give that to our Attorney General, and she'll take a look at that very strongly. But we also having tremendous support from Border Patrol, from ICE. The ICE agents have been unbelievable. Border Patrol, their leadership at Border Patrol has been incredible, and they're working very well. And as you know, and I saw you reporting it this morning, actually, we set records on the least number of illegal aliens coming in, migrants coming into our country that we've had in more than 50 years. And we did this all within a period of weeks because we took over a mess. The world was pouring in. And remember, they were coming in from jails and prisons and mental institutions and insane asylums, and they were gang members and drug dealers. Anybody wanted to come in, they came, and from not just South America, from all over the world. So it's amazing what they've done. And Christie and Tom Holman, the job they've done has been absolutely amazing. We set records for, and we want people to come into our country, by the way, but they want to come in, they have to come in legally. I want that to be really understood. We want people in our country, but they have to come in legally.
Can I follow on that, Mr. President, about the Trump Gold Card idea
Yeah.
that you unveiled yesterday?
I hope you liked it.
I have way more information, but the question is, does this reflect a view on your part that the American immigration system has never been properly monetized as you feel it should be?
Well, not so much monetized. It hasn't been properly run. I get calls from, as an example, companies where they want to hire the number one student at a school. A person comes from India, China, Japan, lots of different places, and they go to Harvard, the Wharton School of Finance, they go to Yale, they go to all great schools, and they graduate number one in their class, and they're made job offers, but the offer is immediately rescinded because you have no idea whether or not that person can stay in the country. I want to be able to have that person stay in the country. These companies can go and buy a gold card, and they can use it as a matter of recruitment. At the same time, the company is using that money to pay down debt. We're going to pay down a lot of debt with that. And I think the gold card is going to be used by not only for that. I mean, it'll be used by companies. I mean, I could see Apple. I've spoken with Tim Cook, and by the way, he's going to make a $500 billion investment in the country only because of the results of the election. And I think because of tariffs, he's going to want to be in the country because of tariffs. Because if you're in the country, there is no tariff. If you're out of the country, you got to pay tariffs. And that's going to be a great investment, I think, that he's making. I know it's going to be a great investment, but we have to be able to get people in the country, and we want people that are productive people. And I will tell you, the people that can pay $5 million, they're going to create jobs. They're going to spend a lot of money on jobs. They're going to have to pay taxes on that too. So they're going to be hiring people. They're going to be bringing people in and companies in. And I don't know, maybe it will sell like crazy. I happen to think it's going to sell like crazy. It's a bargain, but we'll know fairly soon. I think Howard and Scott, a few of you really are responsible for it, but Howard, if you want to discuss that for a couple of minutes, I think I'd like to have you. I think it's going to be a very successful program. This is commerce.
So the EB-5 program, which has been around for many years, had investment of $1 million into projects in America. And those projects were often suspect. They didn't really work out. There wasn't any oversight of it. And so for $1 million investment, you got a visa, and then you came into the country and ended up with a green card. So it was poorly overseen, poorly executed. Then you had our border open where millions of people came through. So the idea is we will have a proper business. We will modify the EB-5 agreement. Christy and I are working on it together. For $5 million, they'll get a license from the Department of Commerce. Then they'll make a proper investment on the EB-5. Right. And we think Scott and I will design the EB-5 investment model because Scott and I are the best people together to do that. So this is joint. This is exactly the Trump administration. We all work together. We work it out to be the best. And if we sell, just remember, 200,000. There's a line for EB5 of 250,000 right now. 200,000 of these gold green cards is $1 trillion to pay down our debt. And that's why the president is doing it, because we are going to balance this budget and we are going to pay off the debt under President Trump.
And to qualify, do you have to promise and make commitments to create a certain number of jobs
No,
here in the U.S.?
no, because not all these people are going to be job builders. There'll be successful people, or there'll be people that were hired from colleges, like sort of like paying an athlete a bonus. I mean, Apple or one of the companies will go out and they'll spend they'll buy 5 of them and they're going to get 5 people. Look, I've had the complaint from a lot of companies where they go out to hire people and they can't hire them out of colleges. And you know what they do? They go back to India, or they go back to the country where they came, and they open up a company and they become billionaires. And they're employing thousands and thousands. There are a lot of examples. There are some really big examples where they were forced out of the country. They graduated top in their class at a great school, and they weren't able to stay. This is all the time you hear it. And the biggest complaint I get from companies, other than over-regulation, which we took care of, but we're going to have to take care of it here because a lot of that was put back on by Biden. But the biggest complaint is the fact that they can't have any longevity with people. This way they have pretty much unlimited longevity. Also with the 5 million, that's a path to citizenship. So that's going to be, it's sort of a green card plus, and it's a path to citizenship. We're going to call it the gold card. And I think it's going to be very treasured. I think it's going to do very well. And we're going to start selling hopefully in about 2 weeks. Now, just so you understand, if we sell 1 million, right? 1 million, that's $5 trillion. 5 trillion. Howard was using a different number, but that's $5 trillion. If we sell 10 million, which is possible, 10 million highly productive people coming in, or people that we're going to make productive, they'll be young, but they're talented, like a talented athlete. That's $50 trillion. That means our debt is totally paid off, and we have $15 trillion above that. And now I don't know that we're going to sell that many. Maybe we won't sell many at all, but I think we're going to sell a lot, because I think there really is a thirst. No other country can do this because people don't want to go to other countries. They want to come here. Everybody wants to come here, especially since November 5th.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this breaking news with more breaking news. We're very, very honored to have, hopping on our program live right now, a man who just got President Trump's endorsement to be the next governor of Florida. The great Representative Byron Donalds joins the show live now. What an incredible timeline. Congratulations, Congressman. We live in the state of Florida. I want to tell you this. I know I've told you this personally, ringside at UFC, but I'll tell you this live right now. You have my full endorsement as a man who's building my family and my business here in Florida. We are honored to have you step into the race, and it's going to be a freaking real one, man.
Listen, Benny, thank you so much for your support. And really to the people of Florida, this is a mission of taking the best state in the country, making sure it stays that way, and then taking it to new heights. Benny, I got to Florida at 17 years old. I went to FAMU, and then I went to Florida State, graduated from Florida State. I've done everything in this state. I matured in this state. I was married in this state, built my family in this state, had a 17-year career in finance in Florida. And I was able to serve in the state legislature and in Congress. And so, my goal is simple. Florida's been great to me. I want it to be great for everybody. And, the beauty of this time and this campaign is that it's really standing on the work that's been done by Ron DeSantis, by Rick Scott, by so many conservatives that have gone through Tallahassee and done their part to make Florida the best state in the country. And really want to use this opportunity to build on all the work that they've done to make it significantly better. But Benny, your support matters so much. I thank you for that. and now I got to go and earn the support of every Floridian.
Yes, so this is a state that is roaring right now. It is a state that is rocking. There are problems that the state has, and one of them I wanted to chat with you about. The property taxes are insane. We have Young Company here. People want to buy houses. I'm speaking on behalf of my Young Company. There's a lot of young people that want to move to Florida, but sometimes that Florida dream's a little out of reach. You yourself are a family man and a father. Can you talk us through like how you're going to make it possible for young people to move to Florida, to start lives here, to lower some of the property taxes and some of the limitations to getting this rocket ship more off the launch pad?
Well, listen, you raise a great point. We have two major issues. Property taxes are one, but insurance costs, frankly, Benny, they're the bigger ones. When you go on and sign that mortgage and they talk about the monthly payment, if you go use a calculator, that's one thing. But when you add on taxes, insurance, that's when that payment really balloons. It makes it hard for young people in particular to be able to step into the next phase of the American dream in Florida. So when it comes to property insurance, we're going to get down to brass tacks. My career was in banking and finance. And so we have to be very creative about how we're going to address the insurance crisis because rates are out of control. We got to find a way to level that playing field and actually start to get them down. We need more insurance carriers in our state, people to write more policies. We have to find a way to spread that risk out while at the same time not leaving the taxpayers holding the bag. If things don't go wrong. And look, we are a peninsula. We're a hurricane-prone state. We all know that. And still people are choosing Florida. But how we address insurance is going to be critical. To property taxes, I know the governor and the legislature are looking at modifications to property taxes or getting rid of them altogether. I'm totally in support of the work that they are going to do, and I want to see where that goes. And I think there's some creative solutions about trying to find ways to either to minimize or eliminate property taxes in our state going forward. You're going to have to make some adjustments on the other side of that ledger because you're still going to have to make sure you pay for fire, for police, for local infrastructure, etc. But those are things that we definitely want to make sure that we address so that people can afford to be in Florida and take part in what is the fabric of the best state in the country.
Yeah, so you would be in favor of potentially eliminating property taxes here in the state of Florida? That'd be
Oh, yes, I would definitely be in favor of it. But I do want to be very clear with everybody. There's going to be some adjustments that are going to have to be made in local governments. There's a lot of thought that needs to go into this. And so you want to make sure that even as you eliminate property taxes, that, you know, the county governments that have police, fire, road infrastructure, the things that really do matter to the day-to-day lives of people living in our state, that those matters still can be addressed after you eliminate property taxes. So there's a long way to go. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the results of the governor's work right now with the state legislature to see what can be accomplished and then building upon that.
So you've gotten the endorsement of President Trump. You were flying on Air Force One just last weekend, the Daytona 500 with the president, and then Donald Trump, full-throated endorsement of your candidacy right after that. Your relationship with Trump is really strong, and it'd be great to have an ally in this state working with the president because this is one of the fastest growing states and the fastest growing economy in America right now.
Absolutely. And I think that, you know, if you want to talk about just the cost of living overall, you're going to need a relationship with the president of the United States because so much of it, the inflation issues stem from massive federal overspending and massive federal regulation. And so you know where Donald Trump stands on that. He wants to get that inflation out of our economy overall. And that's going to fall and waterfall into Florida. So if we get national inflation under control, that only helps Floridians. We all know we're a hurricane-prone state. Having direct relationships with the president of the United States is only going to help us be able to mitigate storm damage somewhat on the front end and then get quick responses on the back end when we have to rebuild communities, help people get back on their feet. And then last but not least, one of the things that's on my plate that I want to do for the state of Florida is turn Florida into the financial capital of the world. Digital assets and cryptocurrency organically have found a home in South Florida. Working with the president and his administration, we want to make sure that the financial hub of our country is Florida. Listen, it used to be New York for a long time. Their legislature is a mess. Their government is a mess. There's no reason why that can't be Florida. And Benny, one last thing I'll add to that. I want to make Florida to be the easiest state in the country for you to incorporate your business. That used to be the state of Delaware, but Delaware allowed the woke mind virus to infect their state and their court system. In Florida, we want to make sure going forward that we are the easiest state to incorporate your business, that we have a seamless judicial system where those cases can be adjudicated, but it doesn't drive businesses out of our state. We want to make sure that Florida becomes the beacon of true economic liberty and economic freedom, building upon the great work of the current governor, Ron DeSantis.
So you're coming for New York. You're coming for New York.
Absolutely.
You're saying, no, man, you come down here. That's already happening all throughout Miami, all over the state. People from New York coming down. I mean, Palm Beach, it's like the president himself has said, no, I'm out, right? I'm going to Palm Beach. That's where the Southern White House is going to be.
You're absolutely right. But I guess so to put it simply, am I coming for New York? Yes, I am. Because the truth is, Florida, we used to just be a retirement state. That's not the case anymore. We've started becoming a destination state, but frankly, we're more than that. We are now an everything state. Like I said, I give Ron DeSantis full credit. Our state university system is the best in the country. We're going to continue that, and we're going to build upon it. We have everything you need to be a hub financially, and we're going to make that happen. And then people are raising their families here like you, Benny. They're starting businesses in our state. We have become the everything state. We're the best state in the country. We're the best run, and we're going to show the other 49 how to get the job done.
So let's continue some of these policies that made this state so strong for families. Pam Bondi and recently the past legislature to have capital punishment, right, for predators here in this state. Obviously, Epstein worked in this state, right, and was caught a case here. Unfortunately, the feds let him go. But there's a lot of families that want to move to Florida and want to make sure that it's a safe place for their children to raise their children. I assume you're going to support law enforcement and these laws to make sure that there's maximum penalties for people who threaten families here.
100%. Listen, you can't have a society if you don't have public safety. So you can't build businesses. Kids can't get educated. You can't have stable communities where people are thriving and growing without safe communities, safe streets, and support for law enforcement. Law enforcement will have my full support in order to do the things that have already happened in Florida, making it the most safest place in the country to live. So we're not going to tolerate the radical violence from the left. We're not going to tolerate people who want to victimize children. That is not going to be tolerated in the state of Florida. We're going to respect families. We're going to respect communities. And we're going to respect the men and women that put the blue on every single day to keep all of our communities safe.
Fantastic. How about your work with President Trump when it comes to deportations? I know that Florida is a major landing point for criminal aliens and that there has been a major problem. Like, for instance, Congressman, up the road from me, there's a criminal alien drunk driving, kills an American mother and her 2-year-old son. Happened just right outside of Tampa. This has been a major issue for the state. How are you going to work with President Trump on criminal immigrants?
Very seamlessly. Florida has actually been one of the leaders on the 287G program, where you have somebody who commits crimes and it puts them on the fast track to actually being deported out of our country. We're going to provide all support to President Trump, to Secretary Noem, and to Border Czar Tom Homan. Whatever they need, they're going to receive in Florida. And again, I want to congratulate and commend Governor DeSantis and the legislature for coming together, finding that compromise so that they can now build up the infrastructure to work seamlessly with President Trump and the federal government with mass deportations and getting these people out of our state. It's going to be critical going forward, again, for public safety, but then also to stabilize costs in our state. One of the things that doesn't get talked much about with mass illegal immigration is that illegal immigrants basically go to our emergency rooms all the time. They drive up costs for healthcare. And yes, we do have immigrant children who are in our classrooms, and they take away resources from kids who are in low socioeconomic areas, just trying to get the best education possible so they can build a future for themselves. So in Florida, we are going to be working seamlessly with President Trump when it comes to getting people out of our state and deporting criminal aliens. But then we also want to make sure that the resources that are meant for Floridians actually remain for Floridians. And we'll be working with President Trump to make sure that's a reality as well.
Ron DeSantis, popular here. You've brought him up a couple times in this interview. How's that relationship? Some are rumoring that, see what happens, right, in this race. Yeah. Obviously, you've lined up in a very impressive series of endorsements, and you launched your campaign last night on Sean Hannity's program with your announcement. How's that relationship with DeSantis?
I mean, look, I think it's something that's got to be worked on. I'll be direct with you, Benny. The governor and I had a good relationship. I was on his debate prep team in 2018 when he was running against Andrew Gillum, and I was there with him to help him beat Andrew Gillum and become governor today. I was there with him when he won re-election in 2022, and I know that, we had a little bit of parting of the ways when I supported President Trump, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Ron DeSantis has done a tremendous job as governor of our state. Before the presidential cycle and, being a surrogate for Donald Trump, I was always calling him America's governor because he has been the best governor in the country. So I think that, in politics, sometimes you go through these times where, there's things aren't really coming together from a relationship standpoint. But I think that, once we kind of work through that, there'll be plenty of opportunities to mend that fence. My interests are in making sure that we have a great relationship because he's done a fantastic job for our state. I'm glad he's been governor of our state. I not only rooted for him, I campaigned for him, and I helped him be governor of our state. And so I want to basically take all the things that he has done and just build upon them. He's laid a great legacy in Florida. I want to be able to work with him, be able to learn from him in the areas where I need to know some of the pitfalls that are associated with the governor's office, because it's not about myself. It's not about Governor DeSantis. It's about the people of Florida. And my focus is going to be them. I know that's his focus, and we'll be able to work out the other stuff.
Congressman, you bring up, of course, the most interesting part of this conversation, which is you're running to be governor of arguably the most successful state in the union, and a state that's done so well and has attracted so much new energy and so much positivity. What will you be doing differently as governor? How do you look to improve further this state that's already, again, on a rocket ship?
Well, first things first is, we're in this position being the best state in the country. Now the hard part is staying the best state in the country. My good friend Vivek Ramaswamy, he announced the other day he's running to be the next governor of Ohio. And, he said in his speech, and I heard Vivek loud and clear, that he wants to make Ohio the best state in the country. So I sent him a text and I said, look, Vivek, congrats on the announcement. Love everything you're saying. But newsflash, you're still going to be number 2. So now the challenge is you've been the best, you got to stay the best. And that's just showing up every day, doing the maintenance, making sure that everything is humming along like a fine-tooth comb. And then when you add on the stuff like making Florida the next financial hub of the world, that's the stuff that takes our state to the next level. Obviously, you maintain the seriousness on public safety that Governor DeSantis has, and that Governor Scott did as well. You maintain that. And public education, our university system is at the highest heights. We are the standard bearer for school choice in the country. Florida is that standard bearer. Now I think the thing in public education, or not just public education, education overall, we want to make sure we're using every tool possible to help kids in our state achieve proficiency in math and reading, in writing, and in reasoning. When you look at how we score our schools and how we create school grades, everything is based upon grade level, where kids are at the medium in the overall student population and comparing them to other states and other countries. I want to change that a little bit. I want us to start focusing on proficiency, because proficiency, mastery in reading and writing and arithmetic, that's the stuff that has a young kid be able to go from being poor or growing up in a middle class family and changing their trajectory in life to really do awesome things as they build out their dream in Florida. They build out their families in Florida. And so it's really tough to build on success. And so what you want to do is keep the successes going and then find new ways to expand not just the strength of our state, but also to expand the possibilities for the people that live in our state, especially children who are going to grow up in our state.
Yes, that's right. Your father, you have children that are in school. I'm a father of 4. This is, of course, the greatest motivator that you can have in life, with one exception, which is destroying Gavin Newsom. That's also a wonderful motivator. Gavin Newsom picks on Florida, and this is my final question for you, Congressman. Sure. Gavin Newsom constantly picking on Florida, constantly coming after Florida, always targeting Florida, saying, no, stop, probably because so many Californians are coming to this state. Maybe that's his own problem. But the point is that if you get this chair, Congressman, you're going to be fighting with Gavin. You ready for that fight?
Always. I have no problem battling with Gavin Newsom. I mean, look, California used to be the Golden State, but now it's just really a terribly run state. And I feel bad for the people of California because, Benny, I mean, look, the weather's beautiful out there. Truly it is. It's beautiful weather in California, but their government is a mess. And even as you put the photos up about the forest fires that occurred out there, let me make sure people are assured. In Florida, we're going to continue the job of managing our environment, and then we're going to finish the job on restoring our Everglades waterway system so we have clean water and a great environment built on conservative principles that stand the test of time. We're going to continue to be the freest state, the best state, the most business-friendly state. And then if California decides that they want to dump Gavin Newsom and choose real leadership, we'll give them a model to follow because Florida is going to lead the way. And if Gavin wants to have that debate in the future, I'm more than ready to have it with him.
Okay, man. Those are them's fighting words. Really quickly, you're going to call it the Gulf of America?
Already do. It's the Gulf of America.
Gulf of America.
I live in Naples, Florida, so it's the Gulf of America as far as I'm concerned. And listen, thank you to President Trump for doing that. Frankly, Floridians, everybody has rallied around that. It's been tremendous. I don't know what the Associated Press is doing, but I think they're stuck in the past. They need to get with the times. But listen, Benny, I'm just really honored to take this step, honored to have the endorsement, the complete and total support of President Trump. And to the people of Florida, I promise you, I will not let you down. I'm a kid that got to this state at 17. Florida means everything to me. I really developed in politics. I came up in the Tea Party movement and in the conservative movement. And I believe in those conservative principles that made Florida the best. And we're not going to stop. We're just going to get better from here.
Come on, baby. Get in there and follow Byron Donalds, the next governor of Florida. Very, very proud to have you on the program. Godspeed. I know this is going to be a fun race. It's going to be a wild ride, living in the golden era. Godspeed, Congressman.
Listen, thanks, Benny. Take it easy.
Let's rock and roll. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just too quick, too easy. Right now, we got so much news happening. It's a wild time. We are doing our very, very best to keep up with everything and to support the extraordinary amount of energy that's pouring into this program and into the people that we work with. And we're just really honored to have so many people that have been on the program in the cabinet meeting. We will be jumping right back to the cabinet meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, first, Donald Trump wiping away some of the criminality and the destruction that was wrought upon us by the Biden era. Today, ladies and gentlemen, is a great day to get out of debt. This is a moment where you should be calling American Financing, my friends who help this country and the patriots in this nation get out of debt. If your interest rates on your debts are in the 20s or the 30s, if you're a homeowner, you might feel stuck. Don't. American Financing's salary-based mortgage consultants can save homeowners an average of $800 a month, helping put your hard-earned money back where it belongs, in your pocket. There are no upfront fees, no costs. You can find out today how much you could save each month. Call American Financing today and take control of your financial future. 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219. AmericanFinancing.net/Benny. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Back to the cabinet meeting with President Trump. We are live.
That's right. That's right. But that's right. That's right. No, they can do it and they can try, but the numbers can never equal what ours, because we can go off. We are the pot of gold. We're the one that everybody wants, and they can retaliate, but it cannot be a successful retaliation because we just go cold turkey. We don't buy anymore. And if that happens, we win.
Are you talking to Eric Prince about privatizing deportations?
No, I haven't. I
Mr.
haven't.
President, you're in litigation with CBS News. Is this a case that you'd like to see go to trial, or are you open?
With who?
CBS, the
CBS? Well, CBS did something that was amazing. Kamala was unable to answer a question properly, and they took the question that they asked and they inserted an answer. They gave her an answer. This was 2 days before the election, right before the Sunday night before the election. And they wrote out they put her words from another question that was asked about a half an hour later, and they put that into the question. Nobody's ever even heard of it before. Nobody's ever heard of anything like this before, but they then did it, they say, on numerous occasions. And the FCC is looking at it very strongly, and everybody's looking at it, but nobody's ever seen anything. Think of it. They took her answers and they changed them. And I don't mean they changed a word or two, or they cut off a half a sentence, or they cut off a couple of words. I mean, I've had that happen too, but that you just say, then they say, well, we want brevity. We wanted to do it for time. They took out her answer and they inserted an entirely different answer that made her sound competent. And they did this, and nobody's ever, I thought I've heard of everything when it comes to that stuff. No, I've never heard of it. Nobody's ever seen. So we sued, and we are in discussions of settlement.
What would a number be like? What's a number that you would?
I think it's a lot. No, I mean, it could have, it probably did affect the election. I mean, we won by a lot. As I said, too big to rig, but it probably did affect the election. Probably could have won by more, but I could have lost the election because of that. We have to get to honest elections. We have to go back to paper ballots. We have to go back to voter ID, one-day election ideally, or short term, not these 48-day and 61-day elections where boxes are put in a room and, let's move the boxes because we're putting in a new air conditioning system. Then you see the boxes move, and then you say, well, where are all the boxes? What happened to the boxes that never came back? Now, our elections are extremely dishonest. We're the only country in the world that has mail-in voting and all of these different things that we put in. No other country in the world has it. France went to, they had some of the things that we had, and they went to same-day voting, all paper. And, paper is very sophisticated now. It's a very sophisticated form of voting right now. It's a very safe form of voting. The other things for the governors, I wish the governors would do it because the paper ballots will cost 9% of the machines, and they're 100%. Nothing's foolproof, but they're as close as you get. So we'll see what happens. But on the 60-minute thing, nobody's ever seen anything like it.
Would you link the FCC action to the litigation?
And I don't think it's linked, but probably the lawyers look at it, because I know it's going along. FCC is headed by a very competent person, and you have some very competent people on the board, and so I think they're looking at it very seriously.
So of all the deals that you've done in your life, all the people you've sat across from and negotiated with, is President Putin distinct in any way?
He's a very smart guy. He's a very cunning person, but I've dealt with some really bad people. But I will tell you, as far as this is concerned, you have to understand, he had no intention, in my opinion, of settling this war. I think he wanted the whole thing. When I got elected, we spoke, and I think we're going to have a deal. I can't guarantee that. A deal is a deal. Lots of crazy things happen in deals, right? But I think we're going to have a deal. If I didn't get elected, I believe he would have just continued to go through Ukraine, and over a period of time, a lot of people would have been killed, would have lasted for a period of time. And the reason that Ukraine, and I have great respect for the Ukraine as fighters, they have great fighters, but without our equipment, that war would have been over, like people said, in a very short period of time. And if you remember, I gave the javelins, and the javelins are the things that knocked out those tanks right at the beginning of the war. They said that Obama at the time gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. Well, I was the one that did that, but I want to see it come to an end.
Will he have to make concessions, President Putin?
Yeah, he will. He's going to have to. And I think I believe that because we got elected, that war will come to an end. And I also believe if we didn't get elected, if this administration didn't win the election by a lot, that war would go on for a long time, and he would want to take the whole thing. Because the big question I had is, does he want to take the whole thing? But the reason, and the Ukrainians are good fighters, I have to say, but without the equipment, without our equipment, we have the best equipment in the world. We have the best military equipment in the world. Without our equipment, that would have been over very quickly.
What concessions would you like to see? What concessions would you like to see?
Oh, I don't want to tell it right now, but I can tell you that NATO you can forget about. I think that's probably the reason the whole thing started. And I think, JD, we can say that. Do you have a statement on that? You've been very much involved. I gave him the beauty.
Great. Maybe the hardest question, sir. I mean, look, as the president said, we're not going to do the negotiation in public with the American media. He's going to do it in private with the president of Russia, with the president of Ukraine, and with other leaders. And I think that's how this has to go. I think that I just want to push back against some of the criticism I've seen in the administration on this, because every single time the president engages in diplomacy, you guys preemptively accuse him of conceding to Russia. He hasn't conceded anything to anyone. He's doing the job of a diplomat, and he is, of course, the diplomat in chief as the president of the United States.
The gold card, sir, can you talk a little bit more about the vetting process?
He'll go through a process. The process is being worked out right now, and we're going to be very careful.
Will there be restrictions on, for instance, when Chinese nationals?
No, we're not going to restrict. We're probably not going to be restricting too much in terms of countries, but maybe in terms of individuals. We want to make sure we have people that love our country and are capable of loving the country.
There's a measles outbreak in Texas at the moment in which a child is reported to have died. Do you have concerns about that? And have you asked Secretary Kennedy to look into that?
Well, why don't we, Bobby, do you want to speak on that?
We are following the measles epidemic every day. I think there's 124 people who have contracted measles at this point, mainly in Gaines County, Texas. Mainly, we're told, in the Mennonite community. There are 2 people who have died, but we're watching it, and there are about 20 people hospitalized, mainly for quarantine. We're watching it. We put out a post on it yesterday, and we're going to continue to follow it. Incidentally, there have been 4 measles outbreaks this year. In this country last year, there were 16. So it's not unusual. We have measles outbreaks every year.
You sound a little under the weather yourself.
I have a permanently bad throat.
Mr. President, would you send U.S. peacekeepers to support the European peacekeepers? Would you do any sort of U.S.?
No, we're going to support Europe, yeah.
And how would
We're very friendly with Europe. We have a great relationship with Europe. I mean, you could you could talk about France, you could talk about any of them. I mean, we have a great relationship with Europe.
But how will the United States do that? Would there be?
Well, how? I mean, you're asking me a question. What are we doing in the field? Let's worry. I hope we have that problem where we can worry about peacekeeping. We got to get there first. But I hope we have the problem of worrying about peacekeeping. That'll be the easiest problem, I think, JD, that we've ever had. We'll do it at the time. But peacekeeping is very easy. It's making the deal that's very tough. And again, nobody was speaking to Russia at all. And, probably 1.5 million soldiers have been killed, close to 1.5 million soldiers, not to mention I will tell you, the thing with that horrible war that should have never started, would have never started if I were president. And it didn't start for 4 years. And it was not even thought about starting. But the thing with that war is that you're highly underestimating the number of people that have been killed. Far more people have been killed in that war than you talk about. You like to talk about numbers like 1 million people. Well, they had much more than 1 million soldiers killed. But you have a lot of cities that have been knocked to the ground. They're demolition sites, literally demolition sites. Every single building is knocked to the ground. And a lot of people were killed in those buildings. And you'll hear a report, 2 people were minorly injured or just injured a little bit. No, people were killed by the thousands. And there are a lot more people killed in that war than the media wants to talk about, because Biden did a horrible, horrible job. He should have prevented that war. He could have prevented that war. Putin would have never gone in. I'll tell you one thing. He would have never gone in. That war would never have taken place if I were president.
I think what people are trying to understand, Mr. President, is how would the United States, what would you be willing to do to support this European peacekeeping effort? Would there be?
Again, you're asking me the same question. How many times you have to answer? You're talking about after we make peace. Let me make peace first. Once we make peace, I'll give you all the answers you want. But how many times can you ask the same question? Yeah, go ahead. It's behind.
Is loosening of sanctions on Russia a potential option as part of?
Not now. No. We have sanctions on Russia. No, I want to see if we make a deal first, but I think we will. I've had very good conversations with President Putin. I've had very good conversations with President Zelensky, and until 4 weeks ago, nobody had conversations with anybody. It wasn't even a consideration. Nobody thought you could make peace. I think you can.
But if Mr. Putin gets to keep the land that was claimed by force, if the Russians get to keep the territory that they claim by force, doesn't that send a dangerous message, let's say, to China?
Oh, okay. You try and take it away, right? We're gonna do the best we can. We're gonna do the best we can to make the best deal we can for both sides, but for Ukraine, we're going to try very hard to make a good deal so that they can get as much back as possible. We want to get as much back as possible.
Mr. President, just to bring this.
We'll cut it out after maybe this question. Go ahead.
To bring this full circle.
Unless it's a
back
bad
to-
question, and then we'll get that. You always like to finish on a good one.
Sir, they want you to negotiate with them instead of.
I know.
President Putin.
They want to continue to talk about the peacekeepers. You have a lot of confidence in us because you assume there's going to be peace. It's possible it doesn't work out. There is possibility. But I hope it does for the sake of humanity, because if you look at the pictures that I've looked at, you don't want to look at them. Go ahead.
I have a question back on these cuts to the federal workforce. You mentioned you're interested in doing another round of this email. When would you like to see that? What would be the deadline?
I'm not. I
This
think
time-
Elon wants to, and I think it's a good idea because those people, as I said before, they're on the bubble. You got a lot of people that have not responded, so we're trying to figure out, do they exist? Who are they? And it's possible that a lot of those people will be actually fired. And if that happened, that's okay, because that's what we're trying to do. This country has gotten bloated and fat and disgusting and incompetently run. I think we had the worst president in the history of our country. He just left office. I think he's a disgrace, what he's done to our country by allowing millions of people to come into our country like that. And all of the other things, the inflation, which he caused because of energy and stupid spending, to spend hundreds of millions, trillions and trillions of dollars on the Green New scam, a total scam. I have the best energy people, the best environmental people in the world around this table, and they can't even believe he got away with it. And then in leaving office to send $20 billion here and $20 million there and 10 million and 5 million, and they couldn't spend the money fast enough. And let's get it out before Trump gets in. Let's just get it out to anybody. And this is a disgrace to our nation. And you don't write the fair thing, but look, the good news, the people see it, and that's why we won the election by so much. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there it was, President Trump. We appreciate you living with us, vibing inside of the golden era. It is a wild, wild west. And you never know when President Trump's going to do an hour-long news conference. And sometimes you just have to buckle down and lock it in. Now, our friend Byron Donalds just announced that he was running for governor hours ago. So we had to lock it in with Byron and get it out there. We endorse Byron Donalds. He's been such a friend of the show. He's been such a homie and such a total G. And because obviously we live here and do our show out of here, and we need Florida to be a stable place, and we obviously want to ensure that we give him as much energy as possible. So we appreciate you sort of rolling with us through these breaks. There was somebody else booked on this program that we were like, please, we beg of you, you are the general, stick with us, because we have to talk about Barack Obama and spying and James Comey. The top line story of today, is the open investigation now into James Comey and spying on the Trump campaign. And there's only one man who you can ask and beg, and he did, thank God. General Flynn stuck around through President Trump's press conference there. Typically, these cabinet meetings is just like a photo spray, right? It's like take 2 photos and everyone leaves. Donald Trump rolls into a hour-long press conference. The general, ladies and gentlemen, is with us live, and we are honored to welcome General Flynn to the program now. No man on earth knows better President Trump and the way that he works than you, General. And so we deeply appreciate you being patient with us as we listen to that, because we always want to take the president live when we get an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and he's classic. I love him because he's just calling him out. You know, he's being very kind by not saying that was a stupid question, like the one person asked whatever 2 or 3 times. And Benny, for you and your audience, I did catch the very tail end of Byron's interview with you. Byron is going to be a superb governor for the state of Florida. He has tremendous support. There's going to be, hands down, he'll be the next governor of Florida. And I'll just tell you, I mean, I'm blessed because I'm down in Florida now. I think we have 15 members of my family that now live in Florida. Wow. And we've been moving down here for the last 10 or 12 years. You know, I moved down here 3 years ago, and we do an awful lot down here in Florida. So we're very excited. You know, you were talking about Gavin Newsom. I wrote down Gavin Newsom, loser, Byron Donalds, winner.
So that sounds like an endorsement from a Florida resident.
Yeah, Byron is, you know, he's got my vote, and he's going to be, like I said, he's going to be an amazing. He's a tough stand-up guy, and no holds barred. He's got a great family. You know, he knows exactly what Florida needs to do. I am a big education guy too. I mean, so I think the education system here still needs to be revamped quite a bit, and I was glad to hear Byron talking about that. So I know you asked me to come on, and because of this breaking news about this investigation against Comey, I'm so, you know, I mean, believe me, my family and I. And also, you know, I have a large family, so we have a text group, and it's like we're laughing at some of the stuff, you know, the laughing emojis and stuff because it shit comes around, right? Goes around, right? So Comey's gonna see his day, and that's a good thing. The other thing that I was fascinated by last 24 hours was the Covington Burling, a law firm out of Washington, D.C., which was an initial early law firm of mine. And it looks like, you know, they were part of this thing that were related to Jack Smith. These are all tied together, Benny, and for your audience, all of these things that are happening right now where Trump actually, I think he suspended the clearances, and he also had, you know, called for an investigation into what was going on with the Jack Smith case. Because when you take Comey and this quote unquote honeypot thing that he did, off books honeypot thing that he did, which means he was running like a sex, prostitutes inside of the Trump administration, or paid agents inside of the Trump administration to get them to compromise themselves early on. This is back in 2016, summer of 2016. Everything from that point on rolls right into what Trump is doing. And when I say this, I want your audience to trust that Trump's strategic direction, you know, he's got Doge doing stuff, you know, he's got the vice president doing stuff, you know, when he goes over to NATO. He's got, you know, he did what Witkoff did in the Middle East to kind of tone things down. His initial shot across the bow of Panama was not about Panama, it was about China. But Trump knew that initially he needed to fight this fight over in Europe and in the Middle East, because the guns are going to turn, and I say that metaphorically, the big guns are going to turn toward China here very soon. But Trump was masterful when he took that shot across the bow at Panama, because Panama, and I've been looking at Panama for the last 20 years. I've been all over, and I've talked on your show about Panama. Mm-hmm. So all of this is converging together. And this all matters because a lot of this crap, Benny, and for your audience, started back in the Obama administration. And when Donald Trump won, they had to collapse their whole idea and reshape their whole idea about how they, in this case, the Obama regime with his globalist team, was going to take over the United States of America. And they started with Spygate or Russiagate. And so with Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, now in the Department of Justice hot seats, and Dan Bongino, thank God, that we are, and Ed Martin I love it, Ed Martin at the Attorney General's office in the District of Columbia. The barrels are going to be, opened up, and guys like Comey, get yourself ready, get your legal team ready, because it's going to cost you, buddy. And I'm going to tell you, there's no evidence that's being destroyed. There's, and I know this because, and you see me on X a lot, where I have whistleblowers coming to me all the time. And when they come to me, I immediately turn them over to people like Tulsi. I turn them over to people like, in the Department of Justice, people that I know. I turn them over to I have people in the IRS. I certainly have people in the intelligence community. And I have people over at places like the Drug Enforcement Agency. So whistleblowers are coming out of the woodwork, and they're providing direct evidence to these kinds of issues. And I'm going to tell you, Trump has got a great team there working those things. And these are things that are going to play out. And there's not going to be long Durham investigations. These are going to be, boom. And they're going to go right at it. They're going to prove these out. And people like Jim Comey, and all of them, when Trump, like what Tulsi just did, Tulsi just she didn't suspend, she revoked the security clearances, which is different than suspending them. Over 100 people on these porn websites that they're using classified and unclassified government systems. Jim Comey did things that were so egregious, so off the books. This guy, and when we were my family and I, we have a great Irish sense of humor. Jim Comey sitting on the stage, bragging about how he snuck into the White House, and on a better day, we wouldn't have been able to do that. Ha, ha, ha. Everybody laughs. Well, Jim, the tides have turned. And now, frankly, you mess with the wrong, like we say, fight like a Flynn, and I knew that we had to fight through this, and it was not easy, but we were able to stand our ground. We figured out a way out of it. My case was dismissed by the government, by the Department of Justice. And, and what they should have done was they should have killed me there, Jim. And I know that they considered it. And so by not doing that, they picked the wrong family to mess with. And I'm going to tell you, we are so tied into the government, particularly the government right now. And I didn't sit on my laurels for the last 8-10 years and wring my hands and whine, nor did I for the previous 34, 35 years of my life. I have a great network of people, never mind my great relationship with President Donald J. Trump. So we're in a really good place. I'm very optimistic. We are going to fight tooth and nail, Benny. You have been a terrific component of this. I love what is happening with the White House Correspondents Association. I want that thing, I want that to be changed. I mean, there's so many good things happening, and what's going to continue to happen is that the beachhead has been taken. Trump's team is now getting through the hedgerows, like I said after the election, and we are now starting to really win some major battles, metaphorically in this war that we are a part of. We can't declare victory yet, but victory is coming. And with people like that, with Byron Donalds, he is part of the victory. We are going to fight between now and 2026 to get more House of Representatives. I'm going to be pushing for more veterans to run. I want to pick up a couple of extra Senate seats. And if we can defeat some of these governors out there, particularly in places like Colorado, we're gonna.
General, there's so many follow-ups there and so many places we could go, but I have to just zero in on something that you said about James Comey. When James Comey was FBI director, he sent agents after you, which is why we were so excited to have you on the program, because you are one of the few people who truly understands this on a visceral human level.
Yep.
He sent agents in to entrap you. He pulled the same thing that they're investigating him for with the Trump campaign, and he pulled it over on you. Now, as you said, of course, all the cases were dismissed. you're scot-free, and now you're rebuilding, and the empire is ready to strike back.
Yeah.
But you have experienced this rat bastard and his dirty operations firsthand, one of the few people who are willing to talk about it. You said that James Comey should have killed you. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean it. I mean, these people, I know that they talk about these things. So there's a group of people that talk, they discuss this, because it's like, what do we want to do? We can destroy this guy. And then all of a sudden I start to fight back. We started to fight back, and I completely changed my whole I changed my legal team. I changed our strategy, huge gamble. And we started to fight back. And when we did, we started winning. And then we eventually won. And I know that there are conversations, and primarily outside of the government, that says, what do we want to do about a guy like Flynn? What do they want to do about a guy like Trump? They tried to kill him twice. He's as a candidate. I mean, his life is always at risk. Those of us that are on the periphery, and not on the, it's sort of in a right in that outer circle periphery. And I'm not talking about way out on the edges. I'm talking about right there at the edge of that sort of inner circle, where we're still in there fighting it, mixing it up. These people they're scrambling. I mean, they know that they are busted. They're caught badly. Comey, he's just the beginning. Let me tell you something, Benny, and for your audience, these people put under the hot lights of a good interrogator or a good investigator, they will fold like a cheap coat. They will fold. I mean, and there are others. There are others, and I've named them publicly on other platforms. Guys like Brennan, guys like Clapper, Mike Hayden. There are others out there that were part of the 51, right? You bring those people in for questioning, I'm going to tell you, they'll fold. And I ain't talking about questioning by Congress in some committee hearing, where they put them back in a skiff somewhere, nobody can see them. I'm talking about get them in front of a really good line prosecutor that knows the Constitution, knows the rule of law, and has the evidence right there in front of them. Because guess what, Jim? There's a ton of evidence, and it's evidence that was withheld in my case that we were able to fight for and discover. And there's still a ton of evidence in my case that was not let go. Remember, I was part of the campaign. So I was part of the 2016 campaign to elect Donald Trump. I was with him every day. And so there's a ton of evidence that we know that is available. When they go, well, we're bleach bidding like Hillary Clinton did. Trust me, there are people that will and have come forward, and they're now talking, and that's what's going to break these people. And once that's presented, these people, they all act high and mighty like Jim Comey does, right? They call him the Cardinal. He's full of himself. These people will fold. And when they fold, the cards will start to fall. And believe me, it's going to result in many, many other people that are going to be busted here who have committed conspiracy to undermine not only a candidate for president, but a duly elected president of the United States. And that's in Trump's first term as the 45th president. It's happening right now, and it's the same people, same lineup, and they're just doing it a little bit more subtly. And that's why these whistleblowers, Benny, are important, because they're coming to us like this stuff with the NSA and the CIA. That's from a whistleblower that came out and said, "Hey, this is going on." And Tulsi, good for her. She's confirmed now. She's in the job. She's got a good team of people around her. She's getting fed these things, and this is really super important. I'm optimistic. I mean, I've never been more optimistic in my life than I am right now. And I believe we can get another 250 years out of this constitutional republic if we take advantage of this monumentally historic period with Donald J. Trump.
So I want to just remind quickly the viewers of what the general's gone through. Comey admits decision to send FBI agents after General Flynn was not standard. They set you up. And now it looks like one of Cash's, if not Cash's, first investigation was looking into this operation from Comey to set up Trump and his people.
Yep.
So this is what was published yesterday, and I just want to get your commentary on it since you were in the room and perhaps you know these spies. We spent the first hour of the show, General, talking about the ins and outs of this report. Apparently, James Comey sent spies in an off-the-books operation, an illegal operation, into the Trump campaign to work effectively as prostitutes or honeypots Did you ever see or experience or witness any of these government spies? James Comey then hid all of this. Second part of the question, he hid it from the Inspector General. Is James Comey going to prison?
Yeah. So the answer to the very last part of your question is he should. Okay, he should go to prison if in fact all this plays out the way what we understand now. So during the campaign, one of the things that we did hear about, and especially after we won in November of 2016, the spying that was going on inside the campaign. But to remind your audience, so we're talking about the Republican nominee for president of the United States, from essentially the summer of 2016 until he won the presidency. Jim Comey made the political decision, and now we have to find out who else knew about it. Did the Attorney General at the time know about it? Did the White House know about it? Did Susan Rice know about it? Jim Comey's going to have to have a moment, come to Jesus moment, when he's going to have to say, well, I did brief the President Obama and he was aware, or I talked to John Brennan about it. Because believe me, Jim, those people are going to be brought in and they're going to be asked questions. The agents that acted in those roles, that they were directed to act in those roles, they are going to be sequestered in a grand jury, and they're going to testify what they were told to do and when they were told, who were their targets, who directed them, what was their mission. I mean, all that is going to come out, and it's not going to take, like Durham did, 3 years. This is going to be found out very quickly, because believe me, some of those agents are still in the FBI, and I know this. Some of them are out, and they'll be brought in for questioning. This is what happens, Jim. So when I say that, Jim Comey, you're busted. The best thing that you can do, Jim, and I would recommend strongly that you do this, and you consider this with your lawyers, that you go to the Department of Justice and you cut a deal. And you cut a deal that says, because you're not going to get out of prison, and maybe they'll give you a shorter period of time, but you conspired to undermine a candidate for president of the United States for one of the major parties, and then you continue to do it while after he was elected as president of the United States. That's basically treason. So you decide right now to cut a deal and come in there and you give up all the beans on all the other people that participated in this, and you can start with Obama, and you can let us know what's been going on from essentially the summer of 2016. Actually, we know it's prior to that, Benny, probably more like early spring, maybe even late winter, all the way to now. This stuff has not ended, and there's people like him, like Brennan and others that are at the pointy end of this spear, who I would call they're the strategic foot soldiers still running this coup to take over and basically get Trump out of the way so they can continue this cabal that they have of this unified establishment government in Washington, D.C. It's just incredible. We are so lucky, and I'll get off my high horse here, Benny. We're so lucky that we dodged this bullet. And that's where I give the American people so much credit for their good God-given common sense, because we just weren't going to put up with it anymore. We had enough. And nobody's surprised at Jim Comey with this honeypot thing. Nobody's surprised. So, again, Jim Comey, if you're listening or if you get this clip, you ought to consider giving up some evidence here, buddy, and cutting a deal with the Department of Justice. With, Kash Patel is not going to fool around. Dan Bongino, these are two leaders who understand the law, and they are not going to fool around. We cannot have this in our country where people are undermining and conspiring to undermine and weaponizing, using the justice system and the rule of law to undermine political candidates and then to undermine presidents. And they've done this. We know that they've done this. So I'm a big fan of getting accountability. I believe we need it for the right reasons, and I believe it's coming. President Trump is in one of those, you can tell, President Trump is in one of those he's in a really happy mood. I mean, I like it. Every time I see him or I talk to him, he's just a good shit, and he is like in a good mood because he knows exactly what he's going to do. And frankly, if you know him enough or you're watching what he's doing, he's got a very strategic direction that he is taking the United States of America down, and we are blessed that this country during this historic period of time to have him as our president. And that's what I believe will give us hope for all of us, and then beyond Trump, that we can last another 250 years.
General, yesterday on the program, we had a member of Congress, Anna Paulina Luna, who was saying, treason charges should happen if, in fact, some of these CIA agents share classified information with our enemies. She was talking about treason, and she's a veteran herself, and she said capital punishment is something that should be on the table for people that share America's secrets. And you just brought up treason with James Comey.
Yeah.
Do you believe that treason charges could potentially be on the table for these individuals who planned a coup against a duly elected president?
Yeah, first of all, I'm a big fan of Representative Luna. She's super brave and more than outspoken. She actually is a woman who she acts, right? She not only talks, but she acts, and she's doing a lot of great things for our country. So the answer to your question is yes. I mean, am I for the death penalty? I am for the death penalty for certain acts of criminal acts that are so egregious. Like, for example, anybody who sexually assaults a child, right? Someone who is involved in child trafficking that is so outrageous, horrific, egregious, whatever adjective you want to use, that those are the kinds of people that I think should receive the death penalty. People that have committed treason, the levels that we have seen, that ought to be on the table. Now, I'm not, a constitutional scholar and as it goes, but I would tell you that there are people in this country, millions and millions of Americans, and a lot of them watch your show, Benny, that feel exactly like I feel. And if these people are discovered to have conspired to commit treason, to undermine a duly elected president of the United States, and if they're still involved, and I know that there are some, this is why I've been very hot on my social media sites, because I want people to know that you will be held accountable. I said this before. Now we have people that are taking a deep breath, and they're like, thank God that Trump won. And we got whistleblowers coming out of the woodwork, and we're funneling it into the right governmental offices to do the right things. And let me tell you, these people are busted. And so for Jim Comey, that's what I said earlier. Jim, if you get this message, start thinking about what you're gonna give up, because you're gonna give up some of your freedom, because you're gonna go to jail. You must go to jail because of what you did. But maybe they'll cut you a little bit of a deal, and they'll put you in a softer prison for a shorter period of time, because you're able to give up some evidence on some of these other people who are even more deeper than you involved in this. Because Jim, you know exactly who I'm talking about.
General, your team is saying that we have to wrap and that you have another interview. But of course, I'm going to ask one final question. You can make it as short or as long as you'd like. So you are telling people that there will be frog marches. There will be people in handcuffs. People will be going to prison. You know this as a matter of fact. Two-part question. Where do you want Kash Patel and Dan Bongino to go next?
Yeah, I think that at their level, what Dan and Kash will do, I think what Dan ought to do, kind of a down and in, help Kash with the reform of the organization, of the FBI, clearly. Dan is the right guy to really look at the reform. Kash has to look at, and leveraging the Department of Justice, Kash has to look back at everything that has transpired going back to early 2016 all the way through the everything from Spygate, Russiagate, the impeachments, all these different things, and really come up with a strategy with Pam Bondi and Tulsi Gabbard, because the intelligence community has a lot of capability that they can provide, and the president of the United States, and frankly the vice president, and come up with a overarching strategy to start to not just pick at scabs here, Benny, but rip these scabs off. And Trump already started to a degree by going after, the removal of clearances, and So he's starting to scratch at it, and he did the right things, but he needed his team together. He's having that first cabinet meeting today, very important. And from that cabinet meeting, I think Kash, Pam, Tulsi, probably a couple others, and maybe even Bobby Kennedy, he'll have a piece of this. He'll have a piece of this, and definitely Pete Hegseth. So there's got to be a strategy that says, look, we have to go back. We have to pull all these threads together, hold people accountable, because we're going to move this country leaps and bounds forward going into the future here. Because one of the things that Donald Trump has to do is metaphorically, he's got to turn the battleship guns on China, and he's got to start focusing on China, because China is they're eating our lunch and they're inside of our government, because the Biden administration, frankly, the Obama administration allowed them inside of our government structure. So those are, sort of strategically, those are a couple of pieces of direction that I know they're going to be taking.
Just a yes or no answer from the general. Nobody respects you more than our audience. Will we get handcuffs? Will we get prison sentences? Will we finally get arrests? The long promised 10 years that we've waited to see these criminals operate. Will we get arrests, General?
Yes, and for Jim Comey, start measuring yourself there, buddy. I know you're kind of a tall guy, so go to a tall man's shop, send your measurements over to the Bureau of Prisons, because it's coming.
Everybody follow General Flynn right here, ladies and gentlemen. The general here with 2 million subs. Obviously, get in there and make sure that you are giving power and energy to a man who's fought so hard for you. And I hope, General, that you take Trump up on his offer. He says you can have any job you want in the administration. Boy, howdy. We can think of a few.
God bless, buddy. See ya.
God bless you, General. Man, you never know, right? You never know. It's just a wild day. You're just shadow boxing, right? You're just shadow boxing. You just got to move. You just got to be in the zone. You just got to be in the energy, right? That's it. That's what we do around here. We just let it roll, right? Let it rip. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for rolling with us. Obviously, this is something that is a massive breaking news day. There's one other major issue that we want to get to today that the general brought up, but I think it's so incredibly important, so wildly important, and that's Tulsi Gabbard just eviscerating the intel community, these sick degenerates inside of the intel community that were using NSA clearances and special security clearances inside of special security chats that are intended for intelligence gathering to have the most despicable, perverted, degenerate filth. Speaking about children, like the worst things you could the stuff that used to be on a QAnon thread, right? Like that they used to say about our government. Boy, it's real. And the screenshots are out there. I can't read it on the show. The whole thing will get demonetized. I can't read it. It's too grotesque. These people were getting paid by you in order to engage in this human filth. Anyway, it's all over Chris Rufo. I want to give Chris Rufo, he's a fantastic activist. Hey, Alex, please grab some of the tweets, please, if you don't mind. I want to give Chris Rufo massive shout-outs here. Chris is very busy. We've invited him on the program. We hope he can make it sometime this week. Chris is a homie, and he's worked with us on a number of things. We're so proud of him here because immediate action, reaction. This is what we're looking for. Tulsi Gabbard, last night, on her first TV appearance, going on Fox News to say, yeah, guess what? We hunted these people down. There were hundreds of them. We've destroyed their careers, and there might be even worse happening to them next. Let's go.
Well, Jesse, what we're going to do has already been done. There are over 100 people from across the intelligence community that contributed to and participated in this, what is really just an egregious violation of trust, what to speak of like basic rules and standards around professionalism. I put out a directive today that they all will be terminated and their security clearances will be revoked. But the thing here, Jesse, is we got to take a step back because this is just barely scratching the surface when you see what these people were saying, and thanks to Chris Rufo for putting it all out online, they were brazen in using an NSA platform intended for professional use to conduct this kind of really horrific behavior. And they were brazen in doing this because when was the last time anyone was really held accountable? Certainly not over the last 4 years, certainly not over the last 10, maybe 20 years, when we look at some of the biggest violations of the American people's trust in the intelligence community. So today's action in holding these individuals accountable is just the beginning of what we're seeing across the Trump administration, which is carrying out the mandate the American people gave him. Clean house, root out that rot and corruption and weaponization and politicization, so we can start to rebuild that trust in these institutions that are charged with an important mission of serving the American people, ensuring our safety, security, and freedom.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tulsi shouting out Chris Rufo there. General Flynn saying that some of this reporting came from his whistleblowers. So the circle of life. It's an amazing moment to be living in. So the General Flynn gets a whistleblower. He goes to journalist Chris Rufo, who's done incredible work, just utterly decimating the woke. If you don't follow Chris Rufo, you should. Here's his reporting here, ladies and gentlemen, on this issue, but he does report on other issues. Again, we're working on ensuring that he can pop on the show and talk us through all of this. CIA officials celebrating the death of Christian leader Pat Robertson. Let's go to the principal thread, please. Let's grab the principal thread. NSA, DIA, and Navy intel officers. Maybe. Yeah, hold on here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm setting it up. Okay, hold on. ALX is grabbing. We do this often during the show. Grab me this thing. Grab me that thing. It can't be instant, right? As much as we love ALX AI. These are just some of the. So here's some of the Chris Rufo. Here's other chats where they're calling libs of TikTok an effing monster, arguing that Ben Shapiro should be expelled from the tribe for constantly spouting hate speech. They also slur Italian Americans as terrible people. And here we go. I think this is the principal thread. Exclusive, a secret NSA chat room where officials claim Tulsi Gabbard is fervently anti-queer and members of a MAGA cult. The employees, including one with they, them, are attempting to undermine Gabbard from within. And then here's the actual, here we go. Okay. Finally, here we go. Here's the actual thread. The thread is sick stuff. There we go. Yeah, just really sick, disgusting stuff. It's insane. He has the receipts. He brought all the receipts. You can see through the thread here. I encourage you to go follow him, and I encourage you to support Chris Rufo and his work. So the full story, the NSA's secret sex chats, ladies and gentlemen, by Chris Rufo and Hannah Grossman. And now we've seen the results. These people have been nuked from space. Thank God. It's honestly exactly what like the worst conspiracy theory chats, the conspiracy theory chats on the dark web, what they told you about your federal government, about the satanic cult and these sick degenerates and these predators inside of your federal government. Yeah, it's true. It's like literally true. It's right here. They were bragging about it. Now they've all been fired by somebody who's, pretty kick-ass. Here's something that we found this weekend when we were chilling with Tulsi at the White House. Just happened to run into her, actually. And then she said, check my feed for something pretty cool. And it was her getting a Captain America shield as she's sworn in. The director of National Intelligence Office is insanely badass. Some saying that this is a Wonder Woman. Instead, this would be a Wonder Woman shield, and not to misgender Captain America. I'll leave it up to the chat to decide, ladies and gentlemen. Hearts, love, nothing but love out to the chat. But Tulsi Gabbard doing absolutely remarkable work, and she has Captain America's shield. It was freaking awesome. Way better than the new Captain America movie, obviously, right? would watch this movie. One final little movie you got to see, President Trump throwing out free hats yesterday. This is just too good of a clip. We can't roll off the stream without playing this clip. This is Trump. He gets these hats that say Trump was right on them, and then he starts slinging them at reporters. Here we go.
Give me all of them. Look. See that? Trump was right about everything. It just came in. Somebody said, I said, this was sent in by a fan. I said, I think we should make some of them, right? But we were pretty much. You want one?
I'll pass.
Are you allowed to take one? Because
not.
he'll consider it. I know him well.
I'll take one.
He's sort of a stiff.
I said you're
Yeah,
right.
Brian, you're not a stiff. You're sort of a stiff guy. He'll take other things, but not a free hat.
Always say yes to the president. Always say yes to the
Would
president.
anybody like one?
It's amazing. Trump sending out the free hats. We have one more angle of this. This is too good. Here we go. Here's got the one more angle. Trump literally flinging them from the desk. Very I'm surprised he didn't do this during the cabinet meeting. It's an amazing moment. Maybe we just played it.
Yes. See that? Trump was right about everything.
shows the throat. There you go. This is Brian Glenn. He's great. He's just a fantastic reporter with Real America's Voice. And caught the hat. Way to go. Amazing, incredible moments, and we're living through history, and we're doing it together. And we apologize to Senator Rick Scott, who was also booked on the program. And we have just the Trump cabinet meeting. It's just too much breaking news. Sometimes it's like drinking from a fire hose around here. We appreciate you rolling with us today. And obviously, if you are locked into our program, we encourage you to also be locked in with Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is the cell phone service that powers our program. We have some very exciting new news for you on some upcoming announcements that are going to be very, very exciting about going live and doing so from inside the belly of the beast, I guess you could just say. We're going to have some fun announcements at the end of the week for you, where we're going to be traveling. When we travel, we bring Patriot Mobile with us. They're the only conservative Christian cell phone provider in America. They're available on all 3 major networks. And most importantly, you support your values by using Patriot Mobile with every single call or text that you make. Right now, go to patriotmobile.com/Benny, call 972-PATRIOT to get a free month of service with the promo code Benny. Switch to Patriot Mobile today to defend freedom with every single call that you make. Visit patriotmobile.com/Benny, call 972-PATRIOT. Our verse of the day, ladies and gentlemen, from Romans. Ooh, it's a good one. Here we go. I pray that God, the source of hope, will fill you completely with joy and peace because you trust him. Then you'll overflow with confidence and hope through the power of the Holy Spirit. Overflowing with confident hope. Ah, glorious nectar. Overflow with confident hope, joy, and peace when you trust someone higher than the powers of the federal government, that's for sure. Higher than the powers of the presidency, right? Or even the deep state. These people who steal, kill, and destroy all of us. Like, it just doesn't matter, actually. Look at how happy General Flynn was on the program. That guy's been through literal hell on earth. They went after his kids. They went after his family. They were extorting him with his children, his children's freedom. Can you think of something more torturous? Could have talked to that guy for like 2 hours. Anyway, the point is that he's still joyous. He's still happy. He's still like bouncing around, man. The guy has his hope in something that is so much more powerful and so much bigger than this temporal world. And that's how you keep rolling, right? That's actually how you keep going. Donald Trump starting off that cabinet meeting with a pretty dope prayer there from the HUD secretary. Lots of good energy, ladies and gentlemen. Join us. Please like, share, and subscribe to our program. Please follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Make sure that you're signed up to download the program. That gives us a lot of energy and a lot of power. We're going to be moving that direction, obviously, as the show grows and expands. We want to have the capacity to expand with you and with the energy of the program. And so thank you for supporting us. Truly, like, we show up for you, you show up for us, and we're going to let it rip. We're going to save the country together. Your front seat to the show. the golden era, right here. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
This has been a secret project we've been working on for a long time.
What are you doing back there? Let's say it like it is, right? They got caught spying on our election.
Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? What comes around does go around. Now here we are down underground, looking for Jim Comey's wig, uncovering something big. Like Big Mike, a honeypot, no better operation cross-dresser. Like Big Mike, they went off the books, now their balls are cooked. Like Big Mike, 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 Mike. Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Everything will be okay. Guess what day? What day? It's hump day. Get it on. Hump day. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings, and their dying legacy, media deal weeds. Soon will the Benny Show come to mind us all from Lives for Fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for #1. Show come to mind us all from Lives for Fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for #1. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest king.